Yeah, we'd love to hear. We'd love to hear what you think as far as why Biden is, let's call it mostly to blame for the loss in 2024. If you want to take it away.
That's correct.
Sure.
Yeah, well, it's pretty straightforward. Because just to be clear, I think that the Democrats would probably lose either the House or the Senate still in 2024. But I think Joe Biden was the anchor that sunk.
But again, he wasn't on the ballot, and I know what you mean by that. But what do you mean by that?
Come on, dog.
You mean like they still would have lost even if he didn't run again and let the primary play out. That's what you mean, correct?
If he didn't run again, if they let the primary play out, and we end up with a probably Pete Buttigieg or something to that effect.
What? Agree to disagree.
I think. Really? Who do you think would have?
Nah, just keep going. It's good. It's good. Keep going.
Sure. I just threw a name out there to be fair, but I think Democrats probably win the presidency in 2024, and they lose one of the House or the Senate, but they don't lose to Trump, I think. And I think the way that they dragged Joe Biden through about 8 months of campaigning just to bring him to the first debate stage on national television, and he just metaphorically shits the bed on stage.
Do you think Kamala performed better than Biden would have? I think that's true.
I think if Kamala wins in what way?
Like if Biden was on the ballot, Democrats would have done worse for sure. Just because that was, and I don't want to say for sure. That's actually not fair. But the polls bore that out. No doubt. No doubt.
I do think that's true. I do think that Kamala probably pulled better numbers than Biden would have had he saw it through.
So, that's always what gets me. It's like, you can say, we had a primary cycle. What is the thing? Because, how about this? Let me ask you this. Did Kamala have a little surge, enough of a momentum? She wasn't a bad candidate as far as the crowd she was pulling, right? And how she did compare to Biden. Is that correct or no?
Sure. I agree with that.
So that being said, we go through the primary like you would have liked, and I would have liked to, and any brain dead idiot on the left anywhere would have liked. Who's doing better than that? Like, what's winning? Go ahead. People are just not winning. People just okay. Go ahead,
the problem is when Biden is surrounded by a team of people who are encouraging him, or at the very least, not telling him he shouldn't run again.
Sure.
And then,
because he did run,
his actual state of mind is sort of kept under wraps until his first debate. Mm-hmm. If Biden was smart, he wouldn't have done a debate at all.
I agree.
But I do think
or even done the normal debate schedule of down the road, and then you're locked in September. I mean, that's not,
that might have been worse. No,
it would have been it would have been worse because it would have been worse because what they're doing now, let's say, would have been faster, if you can even think and believe that. But yeah, there would have been more of a rubber stamp. I mean, if you have a bigger majority in Congress on both sides, then you just have more of a rubber stamp, which is why everyone on the left will forever be frustrated in Obama in 2008, 2010. You suck. Anyways.
True. A lot of wasted political capital.
60 votes in the Senate and had the House. What are we doing here? Obama.
Wasted
still liked him, whatever. But yeah, I just back to the point.
My thing is, he clearly had been sort of more or less losing it mentally. Right, and it doesn't matter that he was doing good things.
That's fine.
That's
as
not
far
what
as
sells a presidential candidate in the U.S. And the fact that so many Democrats were going along with it until it was obvious it was a problem.
What does going along with it mean? I don't even know what that means. What does going along with it mean? Like, who? You make it sound like they were blessing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just don't know.
They weren't telling him to get the fuck out of the way. Let me ask you
this. And they should have. And look, but here's the thing. Hey, let me stop you. They should have, but they should have on the grounds of what he said in 2020. It's not about if he was senile. He was still running the day-to-day job. And dude, let's be fair. Yo, come on. You're gonna throw away firsthand accounts from people around him who said the day-to-day in his decision-making, he wasn't some senile guy. He might have looked that way in many different ways. And he even is going senile. I admit that. This whole thing gets overblown as if it's fucking Weekend at Bernie's. Shit was not Weekend at Bernie's. That's so stupid. You feel me?
I mean,
It just was.
it
It wasn't.
was weekend. Biden's got
Oh
him.
my god, dude! And
Uh,
that's fine. It's a good joke, but it's not real. It's not real.
but it doesn't matter because here's what it doesn't
yeah,
matter. It's how
sure.
you come off
No, I
in
agree.
the pop
Election-wise,
culture. So
election-wise, he
the
was
average
senile
voter
for
doesn't give
sure.
a fuck that day to day.
That's
was
fine. I
great.
just
Don't give a
still
shit.
have to say it out loud because the other shit gets talked about all the time, and what doesn't actually get talked about is like there were people who literally got interviewed who worked day to day around him and said like, yes, he was an older man, and that way he was senile, but he was still fine. He was still capable. He was still decision making. You know, the fucking election cycle and the debate stage like age you quicker and make you look more senile in ways, so you have to be sharp, and he fucking wasn't. He was old as balls and he shouldn't have been running.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Of course. Like
Misspoke a lot. Well, listen,
and I'm gonna
right,
drop
you
it right
can-
now. I'm gonna drop it. The other side never gets chatted about at all. It just feels like everyone thinks Biden was fucking Weekend at Bernie's again, in all seriousness. But all right, I'm gonna drop it. He's old enough.
Listen,
he was
you
old
can be
enough.
somebody who isn't able to present yourself well and still be a very smart individual, right? Like you can be poor
course. Of
charismatically,
course.
but be fucking sharp as a tack.
Definitely.
But that doesn't matter because what we sell in elections here is very much like an image and presentation and aesthetic. Like, unfortunately, that pulls a lot away with the American voter. So he should have not ran again.
No,
we should have had a
agreed.
primary,
Everyone
and
agrees with that.
Democrats
Everyone
probably don't lose in 24. I truly
Well,
believe
so
that.
then let's play this game. You keep saying they don't lose, but you
Despite
haven't said
inflation.
who would beat Trump. Who in your mind would beat Trump if they were on the ballot? Like, give me
I
someone.
genuinely-
Who...
I genuinely think most. I think if Kamala
What?
won a primary legitimately
What?
and ran as a candidate, she
But
probably
what
beats
is that?
Trump.
How is that any different than a long primary? Like, who is she winning over because she was in the cycle the whole time? That she didn't win over the way
Because
it
it was
happened?
it wasn't legitimate. Her candidacy on the ballot was not legitimate in a lot of people's
It was
eyes.
his
It
vice
wasn't.
president, dude.
Yeah,
So
'cause
who's
he bought-
legitimate? So
and
who's
went,
legitimate? Should they
since
have run a
Kamala-
primaries in like 30 days? They're not going to do that. You know they're not going to do
No,
that.
he
So then
shouldn't
who's
have ran again.
Of
He shouldn't have
course,
ran
but
again.
in the moment, what do you do if you if you actually had to
You're
lead in the
screwed
moment? And you,
You're screwed in the moment.
yeah, with Kamala,
There's
you're
nothing
screwed
they
with
could have
Kamala.
done there.
Right, correct. You're screwed with Kamala. So.
Right. Because she's not nobody's bought into Kamala at that point as being the president.
That's so dumb to me, man. But whatever. I know at large you're right. Just to me, that's stupid. Like, takes me 3 months doesn't get me bought. 6 months gets me bought. It's like, oh my, what does that mean? But whatever. You're not wrong because it bears itself out in results, and it's frustrating. But can't just look
I
at the
think
policy
Bernie
for a couple
beats-
hours and make your choice. Like, I don't. Who are these people that the months? Anyways.
I think Bernie beats Trump in 24. I think
I think
Elizabeth
Bernie-
Warren probably beats Trump in 24. Although being a woman clearly has its disadvantages, unfortunately, in this
does.
country.
It
If
does. It
you're
still does.
running for president, I mean, it's very clear. I think Michael
I-
Bloomberg probably beats Trump.
Oh
think,
my god.
I do think
for real? Oh my goodness.
I do think so. Dude, Trump was truly that disliked. January
That's
6th was
crazy.
not far in the rearview mirror. It's
Dude,
just
I
crazy
don't
to me that
know.
Biden
That's-
couldn't get
So
out of the
s-
way of his own ego, and he goes, "We're running it back."
But
Like,
your
dude,
stance,
your
but your stance
age was
isn't
an
that
issue
Kamala was
4 years
necessarily a
ago.
bad candidate. Your stance is that she just didn't have enough time because Biden's an asshole, right? Because I'm fine with that.
Right.
fine
Nobody
with
had bought
Because if you're trying to
into
tell me
Kamala.
Michael Bloomberg's a better Democratic presidential candidate than Kamala Harris, I think you're wrong. Like you're like, what? So fair. Like, it comes down to time. It comes down to time.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of Kamala anyway, but
But
yeah, I do
jeez,
think
what Michael Bloomberg? Just the fact that you use Michael Bloomberg, I'm just hung up on it. But whatever, we're moving past.
I was just looking at the top 5 from 2020
Top 5? What by like?
Democratic
By what
presidential primary.
vote share or by fucking?
Yeah, through their primary
delegate.
process, who got
Oh,
the
okay.
most votes.
Whatever.
But
Sure.
the point being is that if they held a proper primary, if Biden got out of his own ego's way, I do think probably whoever they nominate is going to beat Trump. And I could be wrong about that, but
For the record,
just
I completely disagree. and I think any
Sure.
Democrat loses to Trump. But
Any Democrat? No, you're
any
fucking
Democrat,
wild.
no,
bro.
Bernie. I think Bernie can somehow fucking do shit that other people can't. But besides Bernie, like,
Even with the jank way that Kamala got onto the ballot and into that race, she almost won. I think if you do it proper,
she didn't almost win. I know it was closer than people make it out to be last year, but she didn't almost win.
Kamala, she wasn't that far away.
It's like saying Biden, or it's like saying Trump almost won in 2020, because people would be like, "Oh, Biden only won by like 100,000 votes in 3 states." It's like, oh, okay, like we get it. Like, do the same shit every time, you know. Anyways,
I mean, she was within a. She was what? Within a percentage and a half.
yeah. Well,
And that's with the weird way that the
gonna
Democrats
follow
went about
up.
getting her there.
I don't think I read this thing that I put in here, but I'm gonna follow up with the quote, just to get one more part of this conversation, because again, I'm on the record, totally disagree with this other guy over here. Don't know who he is. Don't know who invited him, but whatever.
Hi, my name's Northeastern. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so it's this article, and then a quote from it is, "The Biden administration, and by extension the Harris campaign, fell short of providing a vision for working-class Americans." And so, like, that tied in with inflation is the inherent problem for all Democrats, I think. And this is why all of them would have lost. Because
Yeah, I
there
agree.
is, unless you're Bernie, hang
Yep.
on, let me finish. Unless you're Bernie Sanders, there's no Democrat that can totally divorce themselves from, like, corporate cash and just, like, corruption cash that lives in the fucking system with everyone basically except like a few of them, and Bernie's like one of them, right? So as long as you're tied to that, I think there's enough sense by people who would vote your way to like not participate. And then on the other side, you just have Trump, who is selling to people who think that he's an answer, totally think he's not. Disagree. I have TDS to the extreme. But people do think that way. So I don't know. You really had to like get someone on the other side that would galvanize an extra force that would come in to overthrow Trump's extra force on top of everyone who usually votes, and like how you get votes out. And only Bernie does that, you know? Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I agree.
Biden only won because COVID gave him that little boost in 2020. Go ahead.
Well, that's for sure the case. I think Trump
we
is
agree on
probably
that.
winning a second term if not for COVID.
Yep, we
know?
agree on that. Go ahead, sorry.
And you know what? Arguably would have been less damaging if Trump just had a second term.
We'll see.
Because January
we'll
6th just completely nuked anybody reasonable from
see.
standing shoulder to shoulder with Trump.
We'll see. I do think there's going to be significant. There's going to be
now.
significant damage to institutions.
No, because Elon Musk never happens. Doge never happens.
We'll see. I mean, you're probably right.
You know what I mean?
Right. No, I hear you. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
anyways,
it's a tough timeline
so
to be in. But yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
This is definitely the most damaging path Trump could have had. And I just saw today that he did some NBC phone interview, written interview, where he was like, "We're not ruling out a third term. There's ways we can get it done." And I'm like, here we fucking go.
Dude, he's always going to win on the old school battlegrounds of politics where, you can just... He somehow has the touch of being able to just say whatever he wants, and people just believe he's the answer to everything. And the only way you can fight that on the left is by being disassociated with the big corporate cash and being an actual, like, galvanizing person of the people. And, like, unless the Democrats run that person, it's not going to work against someone who... Trump is, like, that way for kind of, like, we're gonna be nice here. But, these people are... He loves the poorly educated. We'll quote him. He loves the poorly educated, right? So you have to be on the left, someone who's like willing to like talk about, banging Citizens United in the bumhole, giving health care to everyone. Like you just can't, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And this quote reminded me of it. Again, it's saying like, fell short of providing a vision for working class Americans. Like it doesn't boil down to working class, but it's, like, dude, I do think a lot of Democrats are so stupid. There's like a senator out of Michigan now that just like, I don't even remember what she did, but it was some anti, not like the greatest pro-worker messaging or thing. And I'm just like, you people are the same thing over and over again. Like, I don't understand how you keep winning. Like, I mean, I guess I'm part of the problem because I vote. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, at least you vote in the primaries. I mean, the biggest problem...
I do.
that Democrats have right now is the only ones that do participate in the primary are neolibs, and we understand what that turns out time and time again. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I don't know where they go from here, and it's very frustrating to me that Democrats, at least leadership in the Democratic Party, has had seemingly zero self-reflection since losing to Trump
I
again.
need I
They
need
elect the
Bernie
same
and
old crusty ass fucking leaders for the Democratic Party. Sorry, go ahead.
I need Bernie and AOC to keep their tour up for a while and really figure out
Mm,
who to get behind in 28, because also you can't just have a bunch of leftists all jump in the fucking fray and they all split up votes in certain ways. You just have to be strategic too. Like you have to when the
you
when
know,
the when it really feels like the temperature's getting turned up on like core principles that you wish that we still had but are like shaky. Like you got to just figure it. You got to like play the best you can in the field. Um,
mm,
that doesn't mean get elected like Kirsten Sinema and then just become like a spineless scumbag. But it does mean that like you got to
yeah.
understand the strategy of like coalescing around a candidate early on in primaries, especially in the presidential one, trying to boost their numbers, seeing if you can, get at it. Win any way you can, because if you ever get a Bernie Sanders and somehow he would slip in and then he would do great things and he would overwhelmingly win his next election. Guaranteed.
Could you imagine if we had in
Guaranteed.
2016? I mean,
Yeah, different timeline, man. Different timeline.
it's so frustrating because we're set back decades by Trump's second presidency. Not only his first, but his second. And turning the clock on, turning the clock back on all that damage is going to take a lot of time and effort, a lot of political capital. Like it just sucks because
But
there's stuff that we could be dealing with right now.
we could achieve more of a positive welfare state after this, because there could be significant backlash to like at least get Medicare for all. Jesus Christ, bro. Like
Yeah, that's what kills me is Trump hasn't said a fucking word about healthcare. And he had the audacity while running for the 2024 election
so dumb.
of saying, again, we're right around the corner from releasing our healthcare plan. And he was saying that shit in 2015. Like, don't spit in my face and tell me it's raining. Like, it's just crazy to me how fast he's dropped his populist angle now that he's won his second.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
he doesn't give a
a
fuck.
shit. Oh,
He doesn't give a fuck.
No, no. Just
And, like,
trying to
I just
do whatever he wants, get away with stuff. Trying to get all of our esteemed sports franchises tied up in the Saudis. It all stinks, bro. It's tough.
does all stink.
Yeah.
It's hard to walk all this damage back. You can thank Democrats for that. God bless.
Everyone has some culpability here, I would say. But sure, you can pick whoever you want.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, you can pick whoever. All right, why don't you read
I do think, too-
off? Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say just read off the
I
first
was just-
Cicero quote, and we can definitely tie
Yes,
that
which
to
actually
modern
happened.
times, which is what I think you were thinking.
That is 100% what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But I will say one more thing. I think
Sure.
if certain calls aren't made in 2020 that make everybody coalesce around Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders wins that primary. So that alone gives me a great deal of fucking agita with the Democratic leadership.
No,
But,
I'm upset about that too. I don't know if that's quite right. I'd have to go back and look at it.
It
I don't know
definitely
if that's
is.
quite
I
right.
can.
I do
I can
remember them all
promise
coalescing
you it
around
is.
Biden at strange times where promises were made.
Right before Super
So-
Tuesday.
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah. Yeah, I have to go back and just gauge, because didn't Warren stay in the race too? So
Correct.
I'd
And
have
she
to
sort of split
gauge.
Bernie's vote. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to gauge like what else was going on to see if
They all
the
fucking
culpability-
disappeared right before Super Tuesday. Elizabeth Warren stays
Maybe.
in.
Your boy
There's a
voted in 2020 for
coalescence.
Bernie. It's probably gonna be one of my greatest,
Yeah.
greatest things I ever
Well,
get
you
to
just
do,
write them in.
as far as
What you do is you write them in.
no.
I wrote Bernie in 2016. I did.
No.
I
Nah,
did it
I'm
in
gonna
2020.
I'm gonna keep
obviously.
voting the old D on the working family line. I'll keep doing
There
the
you
same
go.
stuff I always do.
All right, let's.
All right, yeah, read that quote.
Let's.
Read that quote.
So this Cicero was, I suppose, sort of a statesman during Julius Caesar's reign, I want to
Mm-hmm.
say, but he was sort of a statesman before Caesar sort of seized power in
Mm-hmm.
Rome, and but there were somewhat elections that kind of put Caesar into the position that he was in. So let's go. Here's his first quote. Do not blame Caesar. Blame the people of Rome who have so enthusiastically acclaimed and adored him and rejoiced in their loss of freedom and danced in his path and gave him triumphal processions. Blame the people who hail him when he speaks in the form of the new wonderful good society, which should now be Rome, interpreted to mean more money, more security, which sort of a good chunk of that is just sort of the leadership, not leadership, but like the figure, cult figure icon sort of mentality, which was seemingly chosen by the people of Rome. Like they sort of applauded their fall from a republic into an empire slash dictatorship. They welcomed Caesar, sort of just grabbing all the reins of power and just taking over. Which I don't know, feels a little apropos to what some people would think about Trump these days, because
Yeah,
clearly there is a concerted effort to just sort of congregate power in the executive branch.
yeah, it almost read to me like he was accusing Julius Caesar of being like. Now, human history goes before this point pretty far, so, but like the OG written down scam artist, you know what I'm saying? Because the first part, at first, the first part spoke to me about, um, yeah, in times of like crisis, we
Yep.
always, not we, but because I'm not a smooth brain, but a good chunk of us will give up our freedom to people who will like pretend that they'll like ensure our safety, and that's how you rejoice in that, and that's also how they consolidate power. But then I read the second part, and I was just like, oh, just scam artist. The whole thing's scam artist. The whole thing goes hand in hand. Like, just
Yeah.
people who are out to get power and consolidate power for their own purposes, whatever they may be, and along the way they know they have to still build some sort of consensus. So you just scam. You scam a consensus, and
Just crazy to me that
sometimes it
yeah, yeah.
works. Yeah.
So this is like somewhere in the realm of like 100 BC. So we're talking 2000 plus years ago.
Right.
And it seems like the dynamic of people submitting themselves to power has flipped between like, I don't want to say obviously not a true representative government, but at least one that's sort of not consolidated in the hands of one person. And we've flipped between that and like just the strong man, like for in perpetuity of all of human history. We just flip between these two sort of forms of power where it's either delegated and it's sort of spread out, or it's one dude just doing fucking all the things and making all the choices. And like it's, obviously that's what happened with Hitler.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
Not saying Trump
And
is
usually
Hitler,
the most
but
successful ones are like delusional
what's
and they're
happening now.
you would always my stupid brain goes like, oh, why do people want power? Oh, it's because they can indulge in more, they can have more wealth. But honestly, the people who consolidate the most power and go absolutely psycho are just like sick in the brain. Like it's not like they have this like they have these narcissistic delusions about how they're the best and they're amazing, and but they have no like way of having a normal human being brain and stopping themselves from doing like crazy insane shit.
Mm.
And so they just do it, which is crazy.
Yeah, it does feel like the people who are compelled to run for positions of power too. They definitely have. They're either
Yeah, there's a little
like you
narcissistic
said,
quality there too.
yeah, they're either
Sure.
narcissists or they truly believe that like this society is beyond broken and I need to be the one that fixes it.
Right, but most human beings can take positions of leadership and still have like a certain governor in their mind that doesn't make them like go batshit crazy and bloodthirsty.
Mm.
So it's not really like the most threatening ones to society and mankind were like Just again, ones that delude themselves into thinking that they're the only way, their way's the best way,
Mm-hmm.
and they just get like manic about like how there's certain kinds of people who take from us, and to gain the most wealth, we must eliminate them. Just stupid shit, bro. Just insane,
You do need a certain level of cynicism amongst your electorate, though, for somebody like that to win.
100%.
You know what I mean?
The strongest guys, you can pluck any like 20 to let's say like any 50 to 100 year period, and find plenty of insane, like batshit crazy guys that would have, if they took power, would have been crazy. But the only ones, so you can always find them. They're a dime a dozen throughout history. But the only ones that met the right time period that allowed them, to like actually be in control with their idiocy, that's where it gets really fucking dicey.
Right.
Really dicey.
It was during times of strife where you can convince a population, they're like, hey, maybe this guy can do the things we need him to do. And maybe we do need a strong man at this point in history.
That's why I don't think, like,
it does make you wonder how many like Hitlers that were never fully realized out there.
So
or
many.
Pol Pots
Dude,
or Stalins
so
or whatever.
So many.
Yeah.
So many. That's why I don't think Trump is like this. I don't think, Trump, like, he didn't even get, like, put into power in times of, like, uncertain, I don't know. We'll see. He said in some interview today that there are avenues to running a third term, which, I mean, who's going to stop him? So.
Yeah.
You would say the Supreme Court, and maybe it looks like they somewhat have a spine, but we'll see.
They're gonna have to, otherwise they're gonna completely self-neuter. So
if they don't have a spine, then yeah, Trump would run for a third, and if nobody's gonna stop him, nobody's gonna stop him. Like,
yeah.
And you even say like Supreme Court could stop him. We'll see. Turn around and have that famous quote like "you in one army," but whatever.
Yeah, but once you lose enough of the good faith from the population, unless he's ready to go full like authoritarian, use the military route, I don't know that he could keep that up for too long. There's no way, if there's a legitimate election, if he actually runs for a term, he doesn't win.
I actually, along with this quote, I pulled up a MAGA junkie fired from government job now regrets voting for Trump. Some like person whose online persona was named MAGA junkie. She lost her job and now she regrets voting for him. I cried. It's scary. It's a really scary thing. She said, I was embarrassed. The thing that gets me with these people is like, but why do you vote in a way that you want other people to be treated this way? But then once you're treated that way, it's like, oh no, how could this happen to me? Doesn't it's tough. But yeah, I pulled that up because of part of this quote to me. It was like, again, scam artisty, and in that vein. And look, I mean, it's super. I also, when I was searching for that article, you could also find articles where it's like, we interviewed 2,000 Trump voters. They all said they don't regret their vote. So it's wherever you're like reading and what they're telling you. But some people do feel scammed.
Well, and as they should, because Trump is not actually here to fix anything. So.
No, I wish you, everyone who voted for Trump, I wish you would have talked to Trump University people. It's just like we're doing the same shit over and over again.
Right. Or Trump casino investors.
Shit over, whatever. Pick whatever.
Dude. For Trump.
There you go. All the stupid people, all the articles I've read there where he stiffed people back in the day over the years. Like, just like, oh, I believe that. Anyways.
Yeah. I don't know how we fix the level of cynicism. And I do hope that when Musk and Trump sort of really break some of the government's functions, particularly for poor folks, I really hope that the people take that as a moment of, oh, government can do good things, rather than, well, the whole thing's broken, so we got to toss it all out.
We'll see.
Yeah, because that concerns me. If people don't learn the right lesson from all this pain that's going to be inflicted, I don't know where we go from there. I really fucking don't.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna have to build a wall right on the Pennsylvania border.
Build that wall. Anyways, when that coastline gets high, and I'm nowhere near it, I don't want to hear you come crying to me. Anyways.
All right, let's see here. Just
Yeah,
Googling how
there's
long
another
the
one.
Roman Republic
There's
lasted.
another one here.
Rome was a republic for nearly 500 years, and
Wow.
Julius Caesar just flushed it all down the toilet. So there you go.
He's a well-documented man. Why? Do you know why? I have no fucking idea. He's well
Julius Caesar?
documented. Yeah, why did he flush it all down the toilet? Why did he like go power hungry and like be weird?
I was actually kind of reading about that this morning. He was out fighting some, because he was a general. He was out leading like a campaign against the Gauls, which I think is in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some sort of back channel workings against him becoming like a statesman when he was going to return. So then instead of getting exiled from Rome, he said, fuck it, I'm going to just seize power. Because he was still at the head of an army at that point, and like his army's loyal to him. So he just walked back to Rome and was like, this is mine now.
So he was
which
a
is
military
probably
coup. Okay.
yes. No, he seized. Yeah, there was a civil war, and he had the biggest army, and he just seized power. But look at that. So America only lasted 200 some odd years. Only half
Okay.
that Rome was a republic for.
This is
We hate to
such
see
down
it.
in the dumps talk, so we're gonna be fine.
We hate to see it. But the next American republic will stand for 1,000 years. There we go. Is that what you want? A little bit of
The next quote is great because it
optimism?
speaks to, I feel like, the just the idiocy of eliminating freedoms for the sake of like security. That's always such a bullshit sell throughout history. You know what I'm saying? Every single time. So it's the same guy, right? Behold, here you have a man who was ambitious to be king of the Roman people and master of the whole world, and he achieved it. The man who maintains that such an ambition is morally right is a madman, for he justifies the destruction of law and liberty and thinks their hideous and detestable suppression glorious. Correct. Just more like the liberty part. Like freedoms always get like time and time again throughout history. It's like, oh, we're in danger. I need to take away all your freedoms. And then when the danger goes away, if it even existed in the first place, it's like, can we have our freedoms back? And they're like, no. And you're like, oh, great. Great. Yeah, great.
Well, listen, we have to surrender some freedoms to make America great again, and then we'll give them back. And that's on God.
Yeah. On God, that
yeah.
sounds terrible to me, but
I don't know about you, but watching people on student visas get disappeared into vans by ICE just for proclaiming support for Palestine, not ideal. Not ideal.
ideal
Some
at
would
all.
say not free speech.
ideal at
Some
all.
would say. I don't know if I would say it, but feels like not free speech. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, and this is what kills me, man. I feel like I've been aware enough of things and had the opinions that I've had for so long that we come back to the same shit over and over again. The amount of times I said over the years that like the same people who are like I'm pro freedom, I'm pro free speech, immediately are not and have no fucking idea what they're talking about when someone says something that they disagree with. It's like that's not pro free speech. Like it's not pro free speech to just like say like, oh, Christian is the law, the religion of the land. It's like that's stupid. Like that makes it's like, but the same people are like, oh, I'm pro freedom, but like you have to be Christian. It's like, what's happening in your brain when you say those two things at the same time? Like I don't. It's so frustrating, man. And here we are again. It's like the same people that are like pro free speech and Elon Musk is. Dude, you know how many interviews I've seen with people who are like, I love Elon Musk because he saved free speech, and I'm just like, come on, dude. What are we doing here? Like, yeah.
The level of like algorithmically driven bullshit you have to subscribe to truly believe that statement blows my fucking mind.
It's crazy, man. We can all admit that the whatever Twitter had before, I don't even know. I can still sit here and tell you, yeah, it probably wasn't perfect, but like Jesus. Like
yeah, I don't know. I don't yeah. I was
criticizing
not really
our
in
band.
that space. I'm not a Twitter person.
Yeah,
you know?
I wasn't either. I deleted it.
Also,
I
can we
deleted
get
it
past
right
the
after he
idea
bought it.
that like
Yeah.
oh, you have to have ultimate free speech online by companies who are maintaining their own. Like, I just don't understand that. Like the people who are like, "Oh, I'm getting censored during COVID." Like, dude, you can go outside and say whatever the fuck you want. You're not getting censored. You're getting censored in this online space where you want to have a
100%.
presence. Like, go fuck yourself. Your free
only
speech still exists. You just can't do it online in a Twitter space.
right. No, I agree with that.
That's the death of free speech. Like, come on, dude.
We
Give me
have
a
talked
fucking
over the years
break.
about like, is there a public square online? Could that exist where like you could still say like, you know, maybe, but in general, I think we've agreed that like, dude, the internet, it's always some site owned by someone that has like guidelines.
It just kills me that we've
Free speech
conceded.
came about when we only could just talk to each other in real life. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, go ahead.
Right. Because somebody couldn't post on Twitter 30 years ago doesn't mean they didn't have free speech. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
It's brain rot.
You know what I'm saying? Twitter didn't exist at one point, but free speech was very much alive. So you don't need Twitter at all for free speech to exist. That just doesn't make sense to me.
It's brain rot.
I don't know.
It's brain
It's
rot.
brain rot.
And when you've been paying attention to this stuff for as long as we have, it's the same things over and over again. Which begs the question, like, I don't understand how... Well, I do understand, but it's hard to understand how, like, we keep going in the direction we're going. It's just like, like, really? But hey, that being said, like, 60% of people vote, so that's... No, I mean, nobody's under the delusion that any state as big as ours would vote 100%, but let's say, like, 80 to 90 is where we should be. That's 20 to 30% of the populace. That's just not even fucking voting, which is enormous. So... This is how these things happen, because like you get enough of a populace and enough of a populace that doesn't care. Anyone like Trump, who motivates a lot of people, can just overcome like normal voting patterns. Or even I think Kamala had like a little bump after Biden. She did better than Biden would have done. So still Trump was able to wash her away. So not too crazy. I think he only won by so much and under 50% plurality of the vote, but still, as you pointed out, it was a popular vote, and it was the first time for Republican in a long time. So,
Long time.
and now I would argue since HW, because George W. lost the popular vote in 2000, and then only won in 04 because of the wind of like 9/11 sales and political like approval and like everyone coming together. Hoorah! Go fight the enemy. So, that's how you get that stuff, though. It just motivates a whole bunch of people who don't usually vote. So, that's why you get...
Yeah.
It's part of why you get... I mean, people are getting fired or people are mad, but part of why you get, like, a plus 30 district could go maybe for a Democrat now in a special election, because Trump voters don't give a shit, bro. They voted for Trump, and they were just like, oh, yeah, like, besides that, I'm not some, like, active, like, engaged voter. So...
Right.
See what happens.
Can we do just one last thing before we?
Go ahead, real quick.
Well, I sent a link in the Discord chat, and I just think we should watch together because I've been at the end of these. I like to just open up Trump's Truth Social and just pick a thing. I just like to pick a thing.
We're doing.
So just if you want to full screen and play that, and we can all just together.
All right,
I don't know what it is. I kind of got a vibe for what it is when I played the
What do you
first
mean?
couple seconds.
You just picked a random one? This is from 2:30 today. You just
Yeah,
picked
because
a
it's
random
always money, dude. He's fucking,
all right, I'm
he's
watching.
insane.
All right.
In the cold silence of the
Go ahead and full
tundra,
screen that.
a bond was born, not from treaties or trade, but from blood and bravery. While Germany controlled Europe, the Nazis set their sights on the Arctic. Greenland became an unwitting combatant, and the United States stepped in, not to conquer, but to protect. In 1943, nearly 1,000 American soldiers with 4 chaplains set sail from New York to Greenland, carrying with them hope, duty, and a quiet fear. But their ship was torpedoed by a Nazi U-boat, and the frigid waters of the North Atlantic became a grave. Those 4 chaplains gave up their life vests, giving their lives so that others might live, to protect America and Greenland. Their sacrifices helped win our freedom, and we will never forget. Together, Americans and Greenlanders stood as sentinels at the top of the world. But today, Greenland faces new threats, from Russian aggression and Chinese expansion. Our shared legacy lives on in every joint mission. every Arctic patrol, every partnership forged in the shadow of melting ice and rising tensions. This is not just history, it is destiny. Now is the time to stand together again. For peace, for security, for the future, America stands with Greenland.
So
It's destiny, Cyril. It's manifest
you know in
destiny.
Trump's baby ass brain, he just in his baby ass brain, all that protecting stuff means we should own them because he's an idiot. Not that they outright say it in this thing, you know. And you know what never gets talked about when we talk about Trump and Greenland and this video and everything Trump is saying related to Greenland? You know what never gets talked about? What Greenlanders actually want. Yeah, isn't that funny? It just makes no sense, man. It's so dumb. This video is innocent enough. I'd expect worse from him by now. He's a freaking unhinged lunatic, but...
Well, I think he realizes if he actually wants Greenland, he can't just be like, you can't invade Greenland. You know what I mean?
Nobody thinks you're gonna do that. You're just a bluster blowhard, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's just empty threats, which kind of sucks because then people begin to just not believe what you're saying or this or yeah. It's just so stupid, bro.
He keeps doubling and tripling down on this Greenland shit, by the way, which is what is he? What are you doing, bro?
Keep an eye on these elections Tuesday. So
special elections.
But you know what? I was preparing for a lot worse when you took us here. Is that the last?
Well, again,
was that his pinned truth? Is this pinned truth?
Is it pinned? No, that was a different one.
I got a call from a very good guy, a friend of mine, Kid Rock, asking me whether or not it would be possible for me to meet in the White House with Bill Maher, a man who has been unjustifiably critical of anything or anyone Trump. I really didn't like the idea much, and don't like it much now, but thought it would be interesting. The problem is, no matter how much he likes your favorite president, me, he will publicly proclaim what a terrible guy I am, etc. Very much like the Democrats at my recent address to the joint session of Congress, where I stated correctly that no matter what I said or did, they wouldn't stand. All right, do you know how many commas he puts in this? Oh my, I've never seen someone comma a sentence to death in my life.
Wait, so...
And again, my favorite part of his tweets are always like, and this is the last one he put in, your favorite president, me. Your favorite president, me.
So fucking...
Me.
So, in all caps,
Yeah.
M-E,
Yeah.
both
Me.
capitalized. Me.
Yes, Donald. Yes, Donald, you. I look forward to meeting with Bill Maher, Kid Rock, and I believe even the legendary Dana White will be president. It might be fun,
of
or
course.
it might not, but you will be the first to know. We don't give a fuck, man. All right, we're reading it, which sucks. We gotta stop this.